Welcome to Upleveling, the podcast dedicated to building better leaders, smarter systems, and bigger results. Welcome back to another podcast episode. I'm so happy you're here, and we're going to take a different direction today than what we've done in our previous episodes. And this is where we really want to give you tactical information that is going to help move the needle in your business. So thanks for joining us today. We're going to talk about mastering your business metrics by understanding your KPIs. And if you're already like, I don't even know what a KPI is, you're in the right place because I'm going to teach you and I'm going to make it easy for you. A KPI is a measurable number that's going to help you see if you're on track to reach your goals. That's probably the important piece here, is making sure you do have written business goals in place so you know where you want to be and then you know if you're on track or not. The KPIs are really going to help you make decisions while you feel like you're in the dark, and that's why they're so important. And it can really help you see when you need to make changes before the end of a month or before the end of a quarter. So that's why we really want to focus on this and help you get these implemented in your business. So I mentioned that it is a measurable number that's going to help you track your progress towards your goals. Now, there's two types of indicators. There's leading and there's lagging. Typically, like your profit and loss, or let's even say like your revenue, is going to be your lagging indicator, meaning it's already done. You can't change it once you know that number. Whereas a leading indicator means it is the number that when you're reaching it and you're taking those actions, it's going to lead to the ending result you want. So a leading is going to predict the future, whereas a lagging tells you what the past is. So keep that in mind. And they're both good to have, but for our KPIs, we want to look at some leading metrics so you know if you're going to be on target for your goals or not. Let me give you an example. That's what I want to do first. And let's think of a personal example. Let's say that you want to lose 20 pounds. So your weight loss is your target. That could also be known as your lagging indicator, because losing 20 pounds is the goal. We'll know when we get there. But what could help us see if we're on target to lose 20 pounds? Our KPI is going to be our action or our activity. And that's going to look at things like number of minutes that we exercise, our number of calories consumed, maybe our steps taken during the day, anything like that. Those are the things we're going to measure to help us lose the 20 pounds. Let's kind of take that then into a business example. Let's say that you have a revenue goal of $100,000. So that's your target. Also could be your lagging indicator, meaning you're not going to know if you've reached that $100,000 revenue until the time period has passed. That's either monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever timeline you're tracking your goals on. I highly suggest quarterly goals because you will be surprised at how much you can accomplish in a quarter as compared to a year. And when you start to do that quarter over quarter, you're really going to build traction. But back to our business example, $100,000 revenue. So what could help us see if we are going to hit that target in the future? Our KPIs around that would be something like our number of proposals delivered, the number of deals that we've sold, or something like our average deal size, or all of those together. For example, like at Aligned, we know how many new clients we want to close each month. We know what our average close rate is, meaning we're going to win a certain percentage, we're going to lose a certain percentage. And then we already know our average deal size. So if I know all of those numbers, they can predict where my revenue is going to be at the end of the year. That's why these KPIs are so important. It's going to help us see if we're going to hit that target or not. There are several key areas, I guess I would say, that I like to track KPIs for. And now these areas are going to be different based on the type of business that you own and where you're at in that growth cycle. You know, like a mature company may have different metrics than a growing company. A mature company is also going to have more departments. And so more departments mean more goals, more KPIs. But we're going to look at our sales KPIs, marketing, operations, and finance. And why are we going to look at those four? Because those areas are the main operations. Every business has that department. We talked about sales in the last example. Sales KPIs are going to be things like your leads. How many leads do we have coming in? What is our lead conversion to a client? Meaning, how often do we turn a lead into a client? Number of closed deals we've already had. We also want to look at the sales cycle length of how long does it take to bring a prospect into your business and then make them a client. Let's say that might be something like 35 days. Well, if you could shorten that to 25, 20, 15 days, you're going to see a huge difference in your business. And if you weren't focusing on these KPIs, that might be something that you never even paid attention to. And so each individual KPI is going to help us see what needs to be fixed in the business. So going from sales, then we're going to look at marketing. How many new leads do we have? Where are our leads coming from? Do we have social media engagement? Which that one's tricky, because businesses can have huge engagement, but that doesn't always lead to profit. So that's really where we want to be. But marketing, you could also be looking at things like your Google reviews, or how much does it cost to get a new client? That's your client acquisition cost. We want to know all of these things so we know, is our marketing working? Is marketing transitioning to sales, and sales are transitioning to onboarding new clients? The sooner we know that, the sooner we can fix something, and the sooner we can grow and be more profitable. And then looking at our operations, we want to look at things like, what is our revenue per employee? If that is a factor that could change your business, that'd be something you'd want to track. What's our project completion percentage? How efficient are we in our processes? Meaning, how long does it take something to get done? For instance, one of the things that we track at Align CPA is the number of days to complete a tax return. We have a target for what we want that to be, and then we measure every tax return we do against that target to see, are we meeting these KPIs? And those things are what is going to help us grow, because we want to make sure our operations is really solid before we're trying to onboard a ton of new clients. Because if you have a great sales team but not a great operations team, that means clients are coming in the front door and out the back, and that is very expensive. So if you see a lot of churn in those numbers, it's usually something to do with your operations. And then we want to also look at our finance. So KPIs for finance are going to be something like, what is your gross profit margin? That means after you bring in revenue and you pay out your cost of goods, whether that is labor or materials, supplies, what is that margin that is left over? The margin that's left over is then used to pay your operating expenses. And then we're going to get to a net profit margin. So that net profit margin, that is probably one of the most important metrics you could track. But again, it's going to be dependent on the cycle of business that you're in. For instance, a mature company is going to have a higher net profit margin than a growing company. And the reason is, your growing company, which most or a lot of small businesses are, you're reinvesting into marketing, or you're reinvesting into your team or to your resources. And so while you're doing that, your net profit margin is going to be different. This is why I don't always think it's helpful to benchmark against other industries or other people in your industry, because there's so many factors that are going to make those numbers different. And there's no reason for you to be hurting your self-confidence because you're comparing your numbers to someone else's. We're not going to do things that aren't helpful, so we're going to benchmark against ourselves. Let's look at where we were 6 months ago, where we were a year ago, to make sure we've seen that progress. I want to add in here too that I mentioned before, every department would have their own KPIs. That also applies to every employee. So if you have employee turnover or problems retaining or attracting employees, KPIs could be a good suggestion to help with that, because you've now created very clear expectations with KPIs, and employees then know what needs to happen. They know what target they're trying to reach. So if you haven't been clear with them and given them those expectations yet, that's something that you'll want to do. And that's whether you have one employee or you have 20. Every employee needs to know what's their number, what's their measure, and what is that goal that they're trying to achieve in their day-to-day role. So now that we have our KPIs, we want to align those with our business goals, or we want to make sure that they're aligned with our business goals. So we're going to have a written goal of what we want to accomplish. And this doesn't need to necessarily be a financial goal. This could be, I guess we'll probably get into this in another episode, but when you're planning and you're setting goals, you're going to have goal-based planning and then issues-based planning. And what I find is a lot of small businesses need to do more issues-based planning than goal planning. There's no reason for you to focus on what you want revenue to be if you have an operations issue that you haven't fixed yet. So kind of keep that in mind when you're setting goals. They don't all need to be financial. But let's say that we have a big goal. Now we're going to attach a KPI to that. Let's say our goal is the $100,000 revenue. Let's even say that that's our revenue goal for the month. Well, let's figure out how many deals we need to close to hit that target. What's our average deal size? And those numbers, when we add those all together, should help us hit that $100,000. Now we've got our goal, we've got our KPI metric, and we're going to have our KPI target. Let's say if we're wanting to reach that 100,000 revenue, we need to have 5 new discovery consults with clients because we know 3 of those are going to turn from prospects to clients. Those 5 and that number 3 is now going to be our KPI target. So our KPI is going to be number of discovery consults we had, and then our target is going to say, here's how many we need to have every single week to stay on track. Now, we're going to pull all of that information into a scorecard. And I'm going to give you in the links below a link to a scorecard template that we created that you could use. It's got some example KPIs on there, but I want you to really focus on what metrics would help you in your business and put those into the scorecard and start to track that on a weekly basis. The reason that the timing of that is so important is that scorecard, it is a simple one-shot look that you could use every single week. And if you're looking at that, you're going to start to see trends. Whereas if you're looking at financials, you may not be able to see trends. You may be looking at a 2-page profit and loss and you're not real sure, and maybe something happened this month but not last month, and it's just very confusing. Whereas when you're looking at this scorecard, we're going to focus on 5 to 7 numbers. We're going to see very clearly it's either on track or it's off track. And then if it's off track, we're going to immediately fix it. And so now, instead of waiting a month or a quarter to fix an issue in our business, our scorecard has already alerted us that this needs to be fixed now, and we're going to pay attention to it. So we're using all of this data and all of these trends to make better decisions. That's our ultimate goal here. How can we make the best decisions to move the business forward every single day? My answer to that is going to be getting a scorecard, figuring out what our metrics are, and actually tracking them. Because honestly, in today's world, and I've mentioned this before, there is so much technology and data at your fingertips that you want to use it to propel your business forward. If this is something that you're like, Joy, I still have no idea what you're talking about, I would love to have someone on my team that's going to help me get this into place and measure it for us and make sure we are on right track, then Align CPA may be a good option for you. We would love to talk to you and see how can we help your business move forward and whether we're a good fit or not. At the end of the day, whether we are or not, I want you to be successful in business. And this is another tool that you can put in your tool belt to do it. I want to challenge you to your actionable step to create a scorecard, but then we're going to put time on our calendar to look at it every single week to see how we're doing. And we're going to start measuring success so we can drive better business decisions. Again, I hope you found this really helpful. And if there's anything that we can help with, post a comment below and we'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks for tuning in to Upleveling. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. It helps more entrepreneurs like you discover the show. Let's keep the conversation going. Connect with us on social media or visit aligncpa.com for resources and updates. Until next time, keep leading, optimizing, and upleveling.